Actually, you can also put things. Not everything. Ever again. Okay, even the story. That's why I'm here. Oh, okay, where are you? Oh, well, no, I'm. We have none. Not doing it. See.
Yo. I always feel like I sit in a random seat and no, I don't need that. I don't need to. I don't need to stir it up at all. I can just sit in my spot. We could. I don't know. Next time, let's do that. Yeah, just for like for fun, just kind of mix it up a little. But anyway, kind of like it over here. But every time, it always is. The feelings bubble up, and I think. I don't want to throw Joe off. I wondered if I should get Brian to fit me out for a version for the first time in a long time. Text Brian and be like, here's a paper copy of this. Yeah. Well, it's long. It's like a lot of, and then I was like, I should bring my laptop. And like, take some notes. So
instead of the tablet, you're like, I'd rather.
Yeah,
than scroll.
Because it's when we were going line by line, then you can kind of like know where you're at. I don't know. I'm not analog kind of guy. And also actually some of it is having two screens because sometimes because like the comments at the end versus the page number.
I had to do the tablet, so I don't know. It is nice having the split screen.
Yeah, no, I was close, but I think I'll be fine. I don't need a 900 page. You know, I don't need. Oh no! I forgot my note. Got my notebook. Well, that's not good. We do just have to make it. No, 1 minute. I'll just run home in 1 minute. Oh, no Joe.
Yeah.
He's got work stuff or what? No, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll be good. Meetings. We'll be fine.
Just say.
It'll be fine. Guess I won't go anywhere. I didn't have any. I didn't have any.
What has us recorded? No one else is speaking. We are the front focus, even though it shows like this.
Okay, everyone, good evening. I'm going to call the meeting to order. The time now is 6:30. Let's go through do an agenda review. Does anybody have any changes or amendment to the agenda tonight?
No.
Oh, okay. Comments from the chair or the land use administrator? Ryan, do you have any comments? No, I don't have any comments. Comments from any citizens regarding any items that are not on the agenda this evening? Going once, going twice? Anyone online? Should we do an online check to see if they can hear us?
Kim, can you hear us? It's muted.
All right, we'll go back to that in a minute there. I'll let you present.
Get a comment.
Okay, great. Approval of the meeting minutes of April 6, 2026.
I move approval of the minutes.
All right, we have a motion by Howard for the approval of the minutes. Any, do I have a second? Second. Second by Mike. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or any abstentions? Hearing none, minutes passed. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the town plan readoption. This is a continuation of the public hearing that we had 2 weeks ago. And I just want to pull the board here tonight. The agenda says we have a public comment period, and I was going to suggest that we offer that to the public for anybody that hasn't testified. Instead of rehashing things that you stated at the last meeting, we have all of your comments, and I appreciate the written comments. They were really very helpful and gave us a chance to go through everything. But is that agreement with everybody?
Works for me.
Yeah, we'll allow 30 minutes for a public comment period for anybody that has not spoken and would like to offer a comment.
Or if there's something new to say.
Or something maybe possibly new to say beyond what you added.
That dangerous.
Is that in agreement with everybody?
I'm good.
Okay, yes, and we had a question from the,
That was my question, just if you had any comments.
yes, thank you. Okay, and then I'm just gonna briefly go through the public input rules for anybody that wasn't here at the last meeting, so we all understand the procedure tonight and how we're going to move forward. So tonight, the purpose of the public input portion of the town plan hearing is to receive new comments, questions, and recommendations from members of the public regarding the proposed town plan. This period is not intended for debate, deliberation, or extended dialogue with the commission. Recognition of speakers. Individual wishing to speak shall recognize by the chair, which is me tonight. Joe is not here. Each speaker shall state their name for the record prior to offering a comment. Individuals attending remotely shall use the raise hand feature in Zoom to indicate their desire to speak, and we'll try to watch that to see who has their hand raised this evening. And then the chair will call upon online participants when recognized. Each speaker will be allotted 5 minutes to provide comment. No individual may speak a second time until all persons wishing to provide input have been afforded the opportunity to do so. Scope and narrative of comments. Comments must be specific, relevant to the town plan, and intended to provide constructive, actionable input for the commission's consideration. Generalized, broad, or non-substantive commentary is discouraged. Personal attacks, disruptive behavior, or comments unrelated to the town plan will not be permitted. Participation of commission and board members. Members of the planning commission shall limit their remarks during this period. Commission comments shall be restricted to brief clarifying questions or procedural guidance as needed. This portion of the hearing is designated primarily for public input, not for commission deliberation. Time limits in hearings. The public input shall conclude at, right now it's 6:35, so we'll say 7:05. Unless the commission votes to extend the hearing in 15-minute intervals. Order and decorum. All participants shall conduct themselves in a respectful and orderly manner. Interruptions, cross conversations, or attempts to speak without recognition from the chair are prohibited. The chair reserves the authority to end the speaker's time or remove individuals from the hearing if conduct becomes disorderly or violates these rules. Records of proceeding. All comments offered during the hearing shall be part of the official public record. Written comments may also be submitted in accordance with the procedures established by the commission. Now that we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and reopen the public hearing and offer our comment period. If anybody in the audience would like to make a new comment. Yes.
Yes.
And also, would everybody please sign the attendance sheet too, so we have a record of attendees?
Patty Harrison. I did speak at the last hearing, but I hadn't read the draft of the town plan thoroughly at that time, and now I have. So I have 2 compliments, 1 comment, and 1 question, and I hope these are not too broad. But first of all, I want to compliment you because the five of you represent very different points of view, and yet you were able to collaborate to create a town plan that was cohesive. And good for you. I thought you did very well. That's compliment number 1. Compliment number 2 is that I see that the plan leans towards conservation, and I think that is entirely appropriate and in keeping with what Weathersfielders have wanted all along. Weathersfielders have shown over and over again that they want to maintain the rural character of the town and to protect wildlife habitat in the natural environment. So that's compliment number two. Now for my comment. At the last hearing, someone on Zoom, asked about commercial or industrial or other kinds of business development. I don't remember the wording of the question, but that got me to thinking. The interstate was constructed more than 60 years ago, so if it was going to bring any large scale development, industrial or commercial, I think it would have done so by now. And we're now entering an era when many types of work no longer require the wide, large physical footprint. So I think we can cross that one off the list in safety. But I think our best bet for a healthy economic future is to capitalize on our natural assets, on our scenery, the prime ag soils along the Connecticut River, and opportunities for recreation. So now I'm referring to section 5.8. We have a unique position in that we can offer places to go hiking, to go swimming and canoeing, cycling, dark sky tourism. If we could add skinning, we would have the bases covered. But I think that if we work on enhancing those, working with our natural assets and enhancing them, then I think we could attract businesses, bicycle sales and service and canoe rentals or gardening supply places. And now I'm referring to 3.2.2, which is village economy. So that's my comment. I think that's the direction that would best serve our economic health in the future. And that brings me now to my question. I'm not very good at reading maps. Is there a place on the land use map that shows where commercial development should be located? Because I can't figure it out.
Ryan, do you want to briefly?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the map and it's
And I think at this point, I'm going to toss the ball over to my esteemed colleague who I know has questions about maps. But so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sure, she's. I don't know, just me.
Do you want to go to it?
Whenever I do have comments about the map too.
Okay, let me pull up the map before I speak to it then.
That was a question about the future land use map.
Yes.
Well, as it's slowly scrolling to it, the future land use map really shows the three broad categories of land use that we broke it down into, the sort of the preservation, conservation, and developed. And so in the developed land, there's a lot of different categories. But so it would go in that developed land sort of bubbles. If you look at the planning map, the developed land is broken down more into the different types like highway, commercial, industrial, and things like that. But the future land use map really just shows developed land as a single item.
Thanks. Next speaker.
I think it's important also that Ryan might also have wanted to mention that we don't aren't particularly discouraging commercial use of conservation land. It's just potentially more limited. I mean, that's where the farms go. That's where anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking about your comment about commercial uses more narrowly, like highway commercial type uses.
Yes.
But there are certainly conservation commercial type uses as well that would be appropriate in other locations.
Yes, but I wasn't worried about those.
Yes.
I was thinking about development around the village areas.
Right.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Next question, Mr. Fuller.
I'm not sure if I said these at the last meeting, but I don't know if you can answer them now because you mentioned that you might not want to answer the questions tonight, but I'd like them answered, matter of the record. These aren't in any particular order. So Patty was just talking about maps, and I know Todd did too, so, one of the questions is, does the new town plan include new zoning maps, and are there any changes in those zones? Because I happened to see like a new future use one that said, for instance, R1 and R3. Well, presently, there's at least 3 that I know of, which is R1, R3 to 5, and C10. So that's a question. And will they be adopted at the same time as the town plan, the land use maps? Or will the current land use map stay in place? The reason why I think they're important is because somebody has drawn a circle with colorful crayons about what may or may not be, and I really object to the point where we're all focused on conservation. I've stood here as a farmer, a commercial farmer, telling you that I haven't made any money farming, and that pretty much all farms are the same. Either they sell the entire farm when they get done, or they break it up a little bit to keep their house that they've lived in for 50 years. And by throwing a blanket over something saying, no, sorry, this is just a big wildlife area now, that doesn't work well with me. So has any town official or any planning board done any wetland delineation or any water assessment on any of my properties? And I'd be happy to give you the tax ID parcels. Question number 2, has any town official or planning board done any soil typing on any of my properties? And the reason why these 2 things are really important is when you're talking about throwing something over a color-coded thing saying, okay, it's all wetland, and I happen to own what I've had people come on my property over a lottery saying, we'd like to visit your hardwood swamp. Well, that's because it's not all wet. There's significant ridges that the glacier left there. That's the reason why the hardwood's there. Question number 3. Are you aware that I submitted documents from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Farm Service Agency to the Select Board on or about September 22nd of 2025? I would like that. I think I mentioned that at the last hearing. That's a document claiming that neither Natural Resource Conservation Service or the Farm Service Agency has done anything on the land that I own, with regard to wetland. And then my last one is, in 1995, the Select Board changed the zoning from RR3 to 5 to C10 in a significant portion of the town. That was a surprise to us. I've been at the farm since 1977. It wasn't that well publicized. They did it. But also included in that move was a significant change, including the road, what I'll just call the road frontage document, that was made it mandatory of 1 foot of road frontage equal 4 foot of backdrop. That paragraph within zoning has completely turned C10s into much more than C10. On my specific road, I remember Hank's mom sat on the planning board that I went to that site where a subdivision was proposed by Dow Tilson, and he did not meet on one of the sites. So the minimum lot size on that one lot was 20 acres, in fact. It did not meet that setback. So it's not necessarily true that just because you look at the zoning map, that you all of a sudden are considered to be able to break up your property. It's just not. So for those people that are strictly interested in conservation, they need to know that within the document itself, there's much more of a strict standard, that it doesn't automatically say, if you have a 10-acre lot, let's say, and you're in a 3 to 5 zone, that you're going to get 3 3-acre lots. That's simply not true. So I don't know if any of those, there's not a pen for this. I didn't know it, didn't sign my name last time either. But I think I got it in the, yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Someone else would like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Dr. August Murray on Plains Road. So I wanted to, let me grab my glasses here so I can read this. I wanted to point out a couple of things that had come to me since reading the plan since your last meeting. And I'm not aware if there's been a summary of changes from the old town plan to the new town plan. Can you tell me if you have a breakdown of the changes? No? Okay. Because that's a concern, because the old plan, which I read, it's very important the differences. It clearly separated vision from regulation. And I was researching on the state guidance, and one of the products produced in the state planning manual. Now this is from 2017, but it's still I think informative that a plan is a vision. And what I worry about is that our town plan is moving away from visions and goals to becoming regulatory or prescriptive. And the old town plan was very much framed as visionary and goal setting. And it separated vision from regulation. It made it clear that the document was guidance, that the actual authority came from zoning bylaws, subdivision regulations, and voter-backed processes. And I think that clarity is lacking in this draft. And just as a visual, this is the old table of contents. It actually goes into 4 pages. I just printed 3. But you can see the detail on these pages is rather extensive. And there are whole categories and sections missing in the new plan. The new plan is about 1/6 of the length. So while there are chapters, all of the sub-chapters and headings, things that are really important, like the historical background of Weathersfield, is not in the new document. Why and how a town plan is used. What is a town plan? Goals, implementation procedures. So there's also historical information, education information. So there's a whole lot of information, facts, history of our town that is lost in this revision. And these are things that should be in town plans, in municipal plans. And so that structural backbone really, I think, is critical to retain in the town plan. And the other concern I have is I think there may be like 11 or 12 people in this room. It looks like there's maybe 3 people online. So I think we have 1,600 and some odd parcels. I think in Weathersfield, right? 1,600 properties are pay taxes. That means about 1 out of every 1,000 residents is participating in this hearing process. And I won't repeat the concern from the last meeting, but what I worry about is this is the town's plan, the town people's plan. And I just don't feel like, I don't think people even knew there was a hearing going on tonight or the continuation of a hearing. And so that worries me, is people don't know what's changing from the last plan to the new plan. It's supposed to reflect the will, wishes, the goals of our entire community. And I do believe in conservation, and I do believe in planning. But I also believe in preserving the rights of property owners and not adding a lot of restrictive and prescriptive language. And the current draft of the town plan, when you're using words like shall, it's very prescriptive. And then it shouldn't be that way. It should be visionary, it should be goal setting. So I know I'm limited on time, but I came up with another series of recommended changes, and I can provide it to you.
Thank you.
Well, the way I did this is I put the concern, what the prior plan had in there, what the new plan is missing or lacking or changing, and a recommendation for language. So I tried to make it really structured, and it's not my intent to slow down the process whatsoever. We have to get a new town plan, but I don't think we should rush to failure. And I think we have to be careful that the last most important point is Act 181, which has the tier 3 maps, which affects our future land use maps. VLCT just voted in their board meeting since the last meeting you had that they are backing the legislative efforts in the Senate and now in the House to repeal those tier 3 designations and also to repeal the road rule. And they'll probably be delaying other aspects of it as well. Everyone's recognizing that when you rush legislation, you sometimes can fail. And so all I would say is, I think the reality that we may be facing as a community is we may have to revisit the land use designations and the future land use maps to make sure everybody who owns property knows where their boundaries are, and then the town plan reflects current law, because current law is probably gonna change the next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
And you have comments to give us?
I do, I have copies I can leave with you.
Great, thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Rick Bates. I live up on Chimney Ridge. And I have a very narrow concern that I want to address tonight. Comes under, I guess, the general heading of dark sky tourism. I just want to urge you to be mindful that as people develop new lighting, that it be aimed downward rather than causing general nighttime light pollution by going upward. There's no gain from a light that's 15 feet up in the air doing anything but pointing down at the ground, which is where we're trying to walk and drive. But often they do. We're in pretty good shape right now. I can go out at Poisington Field as part of the local astronomy group with a 6-inch diameter telescope and see deep sky things really well. When I talked last summer with my counterparts in Hartford, Connecticut, they said, no, not down here. You need a 10-inch diameter telescope just to get started. And that's the 6-inch diameter telescope that's worked up to about 27 square inches of light gathering. The 10-inch is 75, 3 times as much light gathering just down there to be able to see things at night that we can see. So we're doing all right. I just want us to stay doing all right. If we can be a place where people from Boston, Hartford, New York City know that they can come up here, look up, see, just even seeing the Milky Way, which they can't do. That's an important thing. It'll bring people who are not going to do any damage to anything. They're just gonna stand there and look up, maybe with binoculars. And I just want us to the extent that you can, keep in mind that as you're writing with the elections, that we maintain our dark skies. That's all.
Great, thank you very much. Is there anybody online, patients, that you can see? I'm having a hard time seeing the hands. Any
No comments,
no comments? Okay. Great. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I would just like to talk about the future land use map, or the maps in general, but the future land use map. I think that this map should be showing what the planning commission and the townspeople envision as what the vision is for development of the parcel of the landscape. Or preservation for that matter, whatever, but right now, when I look at this map, I don't see the vision. And the problem with that is we being you guys in working with the zoning regulations and creating the zoning map. I remember the last time we talked about revising the zoning map, and everybody on the planning commission said, well, we don't know where this came from. Why do we have all this land in conservation? And David Fuller just mentioned it. So what the future planning commission is gonna do is they're gonna pick up this future land use map and say, well, where can we increase density? Where do we want to make sure that we don't have increased density? And when I look at this map, we have two teeny tiny spots that we've identified as where we want more density. This is the 1 acre zoning. And when you actually look at where these are, they're already in the two ones where we say. We wanna have future high density. They're already rural residential one. Right, so we're not showing anywhere on this map where we wanna increase density. And even though it says future high density. And then we have a couple of these dark purple ones that say future medium density. And I don't know if you know this, but that purple area, for example, over on Thatcher Road and Victory Circle, you're saying here you want the future density to be 3 acres. It's already 1 acre. So I think unintentionally or whatever, we're going backwards. You're reducing the density in that area. And then there is one spot where you have changed from what's C10, just basically south on that map, across 131. There is one section of C10 now that will be identified as the future medium density. So I think I would like to see our vision of how we want this town to be, how we want the land use categorized. So and I don't see it. So for now, I would think that we wouldn't want to adopt this map. On the idea of the future planning map too, there's a lot of good information on the future plan map, but it's not, it is this, the actual map we adopt, the future land use map is the one we get to use. The other one is a planning tool, right? But so I'd like to see that information migrated onto this one, right? Where are the, just like the old future land use map, it showed where the parcels were, it showed where the zoning districts were. And then you can take those zoning districts and decide, do you want to have them be a little bigger? Do you want to have those smaller? Where do you want to have the density? And then on here, there's no description of what the density is. So we have the rural lands, and then if you read in the actual town plan, rural has a couple categories. One is for the densely populated areas, which are less than an acre. And then the rest of the rural, it just says sparse development at up in 10 acres or more. So I don't see that on this map. So I'd like to see like a map that identifies your purpose, has the vision, identifies where we want to have dense development so that we can create regulations that allow for that development to happen easier where we want it, and then go with the current processes that we have for areas that we don't want to have development on. Okay, so that's mine.
Are you gonna be submitting those comments in writing to us?
I can.
That would be very helpful if you could summarize that.
I have a quick question. So on the future land use map, where it says future high density, if we scratched off the -1 acre, because one of the things that I wondered, you know, your point being a good one. One of the things that I wonder about is in making this map, where we had, I don't think we've spent a huge amount of time thinking about potential bylaw changes that would make sense as we move into the future, which means it's hard to put, you know, it should be 1 acre, it should be ½ acre, it should be a whatever acre. And since it's a future land use map for discussion we haven't had yet, if we scratch those 1 acre, 3 acre suggestions, because that seems like part of the future discussion. Does that help?
That theme exactly helps, but you need more of them.
More area.
We need more of this map marked up with where you want that density to happen. Because right now, there are only a couple teeny tiny spots where that will happen. And So I would like to see all those areas identified on the map.
There should be more places to develop. That's the message.
Right, because that's, I think where it should be easy, so that when I pick up this future land use map. And Ryan and the planning commission are looking at what the zoning district is. It should be easier for us to write rules that says, right here, this is half acre. Right? Right here, this is 1 acre. You know, boom. That's what I would like to see.
Thank you. Is there anybody online, patient, since you can see or any comments in the box?
No comments, no hands.
No one on, okay. Anybody else? Have a comment this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Susan Wilder from Perkinsville, and I just wanted to mention that we've had a huge increase in seasonal homes in Weathersfield since the last plan was done. And I wonder if there's any attention paid to that and how that increases is affecting our community and what we might pay attention to. I think it's now at 149 seasonal homes in Weathersfield at this point. So, just wanted to mention.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has a comment this evening? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times and there's no one online? Then I guess I'll ask for a motion to close the public comment period.
Do you need that?
I thought we did.
What was the time setting on it?
7:30.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Well, that was what
Just about at the end of the timeline.
yeah, I thought it was a 30-minute discussion, right?
We started at
6:35.
6:35 and it's 6:04 now.
Right, that's why I was wondering where the 7:35.
There you go. No, you're
Because I
right.
had that too.
6:35. Why don't we just sit here for a minute and then it'll close itself?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the comment section as there are no further comments.
Is there a second?
Oh, sorry.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. So next, we're gonna move on to board deliberation. And I was gonna suggest, and this is open for discussion here, to have Ryan sort of kick that off for us since he assembled all of those comments and everything, and let us slowly start to work through the list. That's an agreement with the numbers?
Yes.
Yes, okay, Ryan, I'm gonna put the ball in your court then.
Okay, yes, let me start by saying I took all the recording information and then took notes on what people were saying, quoted certain things and tried to distill what was the comment they were trying to get across. So that's in the packet as well as all the written comments that have been received so far. And then I spent a little bit of time changing the document. So we have a new draft that has some track changes. It was really only the first comments that were received, which were the regional commission. And went through those comments. Susan Wilder had one, and Willis Wood. So those are the comments that I've gone through. All of the rest I haven't done anything with other than collect them.
Okay.
So do you want to start by looking at the changes in the plan?
That's the first document in the packet, correct?
Yeah, it's page 21.
Yeah, yes, please. That would be my preference, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna open up my Word document so that I can go through the next changes. But on the first page on the cover, I just added a little description of what that image was of. I think it was before we had opened the hearing, but August had mentioned what's missing from that image, and basically I wanted to make it clear that this isn't just a generic scene. This is from the summit of the Scutney, looking down towards Little Scutney and Eagles Head and the Greenbush fields down there. So it is Weathersfield related. So I just felt like it was important to make that clear. Yeah, let me open up my Word.
Can you put it on the screen? Yeah,
Yeah, I can do that.
Are we missing one?
This is well.
TV,
Oh,
it blow up?
I don't know. I have apparently have
Zoom is back there.
remembering what happened.
We were asking the second TV?
Yeah.
Well, so we've never had a need for it, and so it's just sort of been in the way when there are people there. But yeah, I can join the meeting and display that. Give me 1 second to pull up my thing. Okay.
Oh, no, don't leave everybody.
Somebody reorganized, I don't see recording.
Oh, you PowerPoint.
Yeah, PowerPoint.
No, once one person goes, that's a good deal.
Oh, wow.
I'm feeling like.
I've got about 18%. We'll see.
You're doing better than me. I was thinking, why is, do I leave it? Yeah.
I can
planning
always
commission. Oh, you mean for the computer? I was thinking I needed an app before I came, but.
Try to share my screen.
Good for you.
Share it.
Which was 2 to 6.
Wow, that's a good one.
Now.
That's too different than what's That'll keep you fresh.
Sure.
Stony. Wasn't gonna come, then I was like, wait a minute, we're hearing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you have to.
Yeah, you have to look at it that way.
Actually, well, only 4 of us.
Yeah.
Is there a way to,
You're
probably trying to do that?
I don't believe anything.
Make it bigger.
There you go.
Stuff happens.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to make it big enough to be able to see some of the words, but
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks for all that work.
absolutely.
Don't they know it's cold out there? It's cold in here.
Where'd everybody
Yeah,
go?
everybody left. It's not like it's a beautiful, sunny, warm evening.
Most of it left.
All right, I'm gonna stop sharing because I can't navigate with that on.
More technical difficulties and then we can I'll go home, right?
Hey.
It's a ploy, right? It's a ploy.
All right, what's the next thing? We're looking at the next change, review.
There's 20.
Okay, looks like the next one is. It's line 213.
It's 28.
And this was to. Oh, so for some reason, some of the changes that I made related to Mark's comments, it's highlighted because I left a comment on it, but it didn't pick it up on the PDF for some reason. So this comment was related to Mark's Regional Commission's comments. Prior to it, it was to address, they wanted to talk about the order of operations. Basically, in order to increase density in the village, we need to address wastewater, and so it said basically just sort of lay out the timeline of those events. And all of the regional commission's comments, I sent it to them. I started with theirs and sent it over, and they reviewed it and said that it now with these changes, it meets all the requirements for on their end. They did have a couple more comments about it, but they said it checks all of those.
So just for my clarity, what was in the packet was the report from them.
Right.
And then based on that report that's in the packet, you made changes to the version that's online?
Yes, and I met with Kelly from the regional commission, sat down and went over those comments and asked what, just sort of to clarify what their requirements were.
And so those changes are reflected in the green.
Yes, they're for the most part additional language that they wanted to.
Okay, so again, just to clarify, based on these changes, then then our plan meets their definition of.
Right, so there's two things that our plan needs to do from their perspective. It needs to align with the regional plan, which it does, and it needs to meet the statutory minimum requirements, which it does.
Okay,
So in this, if I may,
yes,
in this 213 through 220, the green is the changes, the red stuff is, hyperscript, it's out, right?
Yes.
DeForest, have you seen this?
I'm familiar with what Jason was talking about, and about in order to comply with the regional plan and comply with state statutes. I'm familiar with what you're talking about, but I haven't seen your.
You haven't heard this language?
No.
I'll read it then. That's why I asked, because I see you don't have something there in front of you. I know Beth does, and she's probably looking at it. But I want to make sure that you know what it says. I'm gonna read it. It's not very long. The future of this is existing. The future of the villages is addressed more thoroughly in the chapter 3. I don't know if you'd want they're in chapter 3, right? Chapter 3 is added. E is canceled, but that's just capitalizing economic development. And chapter 5, municipal services, utilities and facilities. This is back to original language. The broad goal is to plan for further development, which is expected to occur over time. Now, this is the added big long language, which is prior to increasing density in the villages, the problem of wastewater needs to be addressed. Once the level of density that can be supported is known, then bylaws can be changed to allow for it. Changing the bylaws too soon could exacerbate the problem that a Scotney has of too many private wells and septic systems are preventing density from increasing due to septic separation requirements. And that is the change in language.
And I'll mention also that Brian has provided some comments, and that was one of them where he basically reworded it.
yeah, it didn't flow right for me, so I rewrote it to say
Okay,
something else.
Something cohesive.
thank you, because what he just read didn't read well.
Do you want me to read to you what I?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I would too.
I do too, yeah, where was
Seems-
that?
I don't know.
It's at the last page, and I added the comments of the last page of the packet today.
Oh,
Is this all available to the public?
I got this,
It's in the packet.
On the web.
Brian's comment is at the end of the packet.
It is, yeah. He submitted it today, so it's in the packet, but I only put it in at the end.
I'll read it to you so you can
Thank you.
see if my prose is any better. Before increasing the village population densities, it is essential to address wastewater management. Once the maximum density can be accommodated is determined, the bylaws can be updated accordingly. Making changes to bylaws prematurely could worsen the issues by similar to those in the Scotney, where abundance of private wells and septic system limits growth and hinders increased density due to regulation requires certain separation between well and septic systems.
My concern was that we're being just a little cavalier about how we're addressing the housing situation. When I read the report that has to be submitted with your plan.
Right.
We're kind of like, well, we're gonna take housing at our own pace, and I'm thinking, how can we be ignoring the situation? It sounded like we were kind of ignoring it, so I thought Jason brought that up well when he made his remarks.
He did, yes.
So. Is now a good time to this read like the way, I guess the way Jason wrote it in, or whoever made the green. Wrote it in, it feels like. It kind of feels like a chicken and an egg cycle there. I mean, why would, what's this wastewater, like, there's no wastewater solution that's gonna happen. Unless somebody wants to build some stuff that requires the wastewater to happen. So if we don't change the zoning so somebody could build something dense, why would anyone build anything dense and make a wastewater system that could support a dense thing? So the idea that we would wait on the zoning bylaw seems backward. That's just my take, but I mean, the regional people probably know something I don't. It just doesn't seem like it makes sense.
So I wrote it, and I think the second part of it about if we change the bylaws to say we wanted to make a half acre minimum lot size, someone can very easily go and split their 1 acre lot into two, put 2 new septic systems in and 2 new wells in, and then we have it just making the problem of consolidating into a municipal system that much more difficult. So if you provide an opportunity for the wastewater to be consolidated it beforehand, or have a plan for how wastewater is going to be managed when density is higher, then when the development happens, the private wells and private wastewater systems aren't the only option.
Hence the reason for including that diagram of the community supported septic system in the part of this plan. You know, at the end of that one section, we had inserted that document that shows what the possibilities are.
Isn't there an aquifer protection overlay, and it takes up a big amount of land away from any kind of development?
There's not a bylaw in place right now. It was something that was discussed when Chris Wynn was around and never
No, it was in there before, long before Chris, and there's a aquifer protection overlay that was intended to protect the wells that all this water comes from, but anyway. I think what Jason was getting at was that we weren't even mentioning the fact that, yes, we're aware there's a housing crunch. Here's our situation. We have fire district supplies, community water systems to the people on this side of town, but no way to provide with the solid waste disposal that we need in order to be able to increase the density. But we're looking into it. And you just wanted some language that said, we're aware of the situation, this is what we have, this is what we're looking into, in order to kind of open the door to that tier 1B designation. I think that's all he was looking for. And my only concern was that I thought we were kind of ignoring the whole housing crisis, just the way the report was written. And I am wondering that the minimum lot size in the village is one acre right now, correct? And that was always to provide that well septic system separation. It's the best way to provide the 200 feet that you need. If we were the places that are served by the fire district water, can those lot sizes be reduced to a half acre? Is that possible? I don't know I'm not an engineer, maybe Todd can answer that question. Is there enough separation if you have on-site septic but off-site water? Can you reduce the lot size in those areas? Is that possible?
So I'm just wondering if that isn't related back to the wastewater study that I'm not sure where that is, Mike, right now with our consultant.
Yeah, I'm not either, at this point, waiting for another report that
We need to apply a municipal wastewater system. I'm saying the lots that exist now that are 1 acre, that are served by the fire district, but have on-site septic systems. Is a half acre big enough to accommodate additional development when you don't have to have separation between the well and the septic system?
See, I was hopeful.
Would those be reduced to half acre?
I was hopeful that study would identify that, knowing that that's an existing condition.
Yeah, I didn't get that from that study. I only heard one part of it, but I didn't get that.
Yeah, that's
I
why.
just thought we were looking for a place to put a community septic system, but I didn't hear any discussion about it. Would it be possible to reduce lots in size if they're served by community water, but have an on-site septic system? Could those lots be smaller?
I mean, that certainly is a possibility. We didn't get that granular in our, the rewrite of the town plan.
But that's an easy thought to throw out and say, here's a thought, we could consider increasing density by allowing those lots that are served by municipal water, community water and on-site septics without having to resort to a municipal wastewater system, which is a big stumbling block. This is kind of low-hanging fruit. And if it's possible, you could open up. Unfortunately, a lot of these 1 acre lots, the house is right in the middle. They're centered, so it makes it a demolition situation in order to increase the density or converting single families to 2 families. That's a possibility on a 1 acre if you've got a septic system that will accommodate that and community water. So those are just some thoughts I had. But the underlying thought is, are we telling the state that we're really looking at this? We really are thinking about it. We know there's a housing crisis. Here's the obstacles we face. This is what we're thinking about doing. And that would, I think, was what I heard Jason saying would be enough to make us compliant with what the region was looking
For the
for.
1B. Yeah, okay, we could add something like that.
So we do have a goal and an action, select board action to work with the Scotty Water District to expand municipal water service in designated growth areas, particularly in the village and RR1 district to support higher density development and reduce reliance on private wells.
Please don't use the word municipal water, because it's not, unless, I'm not aware of the town wanting to create a municipal water system.
Isn't it municipal, even though the
No.
fire district is a
No.
municipality? I thought?
No, it's not municipal, that means.
It's not regulated to this municipality. But it's.
And no one's
inside
gonna
of-
know that by reading that, municipal means town of Weathersfield. The water district, actually fire district, is a whole nother entity, and it's, we never refer to that as a municipality, even though
Because we don't own it.
we don't own it.
That's correct.
And we've got enough confusion about the water system in the fire district and people thinking it's town owned.
Okay.
And we have nothing to do with that. We're not financially connected to them in any way. And it is very like a municipality unto its own. They can levy taxes, they have their own prudential committee, they have their own government system.
Okay.
But it is not connected to the town in any way.
That's a very good point.
So please be careful when you use that word.
it to community?
Well, fire district is the proper term.
Does that action, does that address your concern, basically saying that we? Okay, why not?
Because you're talking about expanding the water system in order to address density. I'm saying, what you've got to work with, what? Yeah,
So
I'm not saying don't do
Okay.
that, but that doesn't address what I think the
you're,
region.
you're saying is based on the existing conditions, is it
How
possible
do we
to?
do this? I mean, you know, you've got accessory dwelling unit, and you can put in you can convert a single family to a two-family already. But there may be additional lots that could
Okay.
be created under the current situation, if we know what's the separation distance required, if you have community water connection, but an on-site septic system, can we make those lots smaller and free up a little more land? Low hanging fruit.
Someone down here.
Yes, sir. Hi.
This isn't an argument with you, DeForest, but you said the half acre change to 1 acre zoning was, you implied that it might have happened in order for this to allow for the septic systems. And I don't think that's correct because of this. As Dave pointed out, the change to 1 acre zoning in the villages occurred in 1995 when the conservation change took place.
So that had nothing to do with separation.
It had nothing to do
It was
with
a half acre before that.
it. Was, that's what I'm saying.
So,
That's what I'm saying.
so then that separation doesn't have to be an acre.
Correct. No, that's exactly why I said I'm not trying to argue with you because
You're
it-
right, you're right.
it was after 2010, I think it was after 2010 that the legislature changed it to, or environmental, whoever it was that changed it to 1 acre. No, actually, not, I'm sorry, now I'm getting confused. Changed it to 200 feet. The protection area went to 200, that was after 2010. But the actual change in the size of the village acre, lots went to 1 acre. Cause I remember Graham Hunter saying, why would you do this? You just made like almost 3/4 of your village non-conforming, which we tried to address in the last zoning. I was gonna say this a long time ago, we're talking about town plan and like I just drifted into some zoning stuff and we had some of that going on too. We gotta be careful with regulation like that. But I agree with you, having where you have lots that are on a water system. Those wells are way over here. So why would the 200 feet, why would that apply at all? And I think that's a really, I had never considered that. I think it's a really good point.
It's something to explore and it's easy, you don't have to change anything.
Hank?
The not to drift into zoning bylaws, but it's a little hard not to look at not to be working on the vision and not seeing how we're gonna implement, so I kind of appreciate that. What I was wondering, back to kind of my first thought is, why doesn't it make sense to say the Scotney's 1/4 acre, half acre, if when feasible? It just feels like, anyway, that I don't understand.
It used to be.
Yeah, well, and
And it was a half acre over here.
we don't want to, we don't want to encourage people to be submitting applications where they put their septic system in their neighbor's backyard. But the vision document might say something like, the vision and then into the bylaw might say something like, you know, there's other ways to solve this problem, like you can have a community septic and then you could have quarter acre lots or whatever. And it just, the green language, I'll say that again, even though not necessarily everyone's looking at the green language, feels like we're not getting to that. And I'm not sure how to say that. I don't know. I think we're kind of in agreement that more density, we're pro more density in a bunch of places. And I feel like the language here isn't giving us the sort of flexibility maybe, or I don't know, you know.
So this comment was specifically to address their comment, which says, this is the way I'm saying it, does not address D directly. D says timing and sequence of development in relation to providing community facilities and services. So they're just asking us to say, what is the order? How are you going to address the community facilities in relation to the sequence of development?
So you were answering your question by making that statement.
Right.
And the answer is sort of like, we're not, but we'd like to give people a chance to do that for themselves.
Which was probably why we didn't address it specifically on our first go around, because
We're not
it doesn't have to be one before the other in all situations.
Right.
Like it makes sense in different places.
But we would like zoning bylaws to allow for more.
Not to mention the fact that
Different.
we have no control over water, wastewater permitting. That's state.
But if we did have smaller lot sizes, it might encourage more interesting water.
I absolutely
So-
agree,
so
that's
there's-
the foresight.
So the only thing we control, like the part we control is the zoning bylaw, which is in a lot of ways like the size lot you can have. So I feel like we should be kind of saying, we should have smaller lot sizes some places. It might not be feasible under the normal one septic system, one well per person. Old fashioned system.
So maybe the action item that can be added on is I'd have to think about how to word it, but something that incorporates DeForest's point about if you're connected to an existing community setup, or if you're planning a development that incorporate those ideas, that we have a bylaw structure that's flexible enough to accommodate those systems. I mean, it's similar to PUDs.
I was gonna say that we're running right into the PUD conversation, which is
But I
part
think
of the bylaw
But
change.
to your
that we're
point,
not-
if we just don't say so rigidly, minimum lot size in this district is this, then we can be more creative with how minimum lot size is addressed. But at this point, because it's a vision, all we need to say is that we should look at opportunities for increasing density, by what I just said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just remember, your bylaws fall out of this plan.
Mhm.
You can't, they're not gonna happen ahead of the plan. Plan should say, well, we should look at how to do this. And
Exactly
we
right.
should set the stage for more density here by using whatever means of possible, and then your bylaws.
So we can add an action item that captures this discussion that we just
I
had.
think Howard has a comment here if he wants.
Just one of the concerns is, you know, an awful lot of people, in fact, probably the majority of people, when they go to buy a piece of property, they don't research it. They look at a piece of property advertised as a 1 acre lot or a half acre lot, they buy it with the assumption they can build a house on it. And at least one situation that I ran into when I was doing this as land use administrator, we had a Superior Court judge say if the town zones a property in a certain way, it's the town's responsibility to make sure that can happen. So if you zone 1 acre and you can't build on it, you've misled the guy.
I would disagree with that, with every fiber of my being.
Howard, I hate to do this to you, but I would ask, was that in Vermont?
No,
Okay.
That's crazy. It's not up to the town to check if the source. It's not the Weathersfield's job to do that.
Because of state law in Vermont, we don't regulate water, wastewater at all.
What could possibly?
Okay, so to drag this whole conversation back, when Mike has another comment.
Just one really quick one, and this is my mathing in my head, which was wrong. To start with, I'll try to keep this really short, but when we talk about going from an acre to a half acre. An acre is 209 by 209 approximately, correct? Todd and DeForest. So in my head, I'm just really quick, 405 works for me. Now I gotta have 405 by 405. Well, that's not correct. I'm sorry, not 405. Yeah, where did I go, right? 209, 104, 104. But that's not correct. That's not a half acre.
It's less than a quarter.
You're munching this really.
I'm sorry.
It's a meeting. It's actually, I think, closer to almost 160 by one, it's like 157 if it's squares, am I right, Todd, somewhere in that range? For a half acre.
That sounds about right.
I mean, you have to take, what is it, 40?
20,000 square.
Yeah.
It's 25,600 square feet,
Yeah.
what you just described.
Yes, and when you go square, it's actually much bigger than you initially think. And we have the 100-foot frontage rule, right? So no lot could be smaller than 100 by 100. Maybe we need to adjust that, because if we could push that out, we could put wells out here and septic systems somewhere that meets the 200, or the septic's out here in the well, I don't know, whatever.
The range of possibilities.
Yes, but definitely half acre is not as small as I originally thought, is the really point that I'm trying to make here. It's not 104 by 404. It's
Bigger.
yeah. The square lot only shrinks by like a little less than 60 feet, if I remember right. Anyway.
Okay, so to bring us back, it sounds like we need to add a broad statement to capture what you're saying, DeForest, in addition to meeting the requirements of the regional planning commission. So if that turns into one paragraph, terrific. If it's two paragraphs, even better.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to make that.
So do you think we need I wrote some language and then you had some language, do you think we need to change yours? If we were gonna say yours is the best option so far, are we gonna change that to accommodate what we just talked
We're
about?
gonna have to add what DeForest discussed.
Okay, we'll do that and add an action item as well.
Yes, I think an action item is a really good idea.
Okay.
Is that, Todd, you had a question?
With everything's spot on with Ryan's point earlier, which is that we don't want to be drilling a whole bunch of wells in the village. So add a sentence that you're recognizing that putting new water supplies in an area where you have density is not something that you want to have in your town plan.
Right.
That's
We have it all up.
We'll send you a copy of that paragraph and let you look at it. Okay, that was the first comment.
I'm sure it'll be quicker after.
So the next one, very simple, on line 562. Based on, I believe, Willis Wood's comment, we needed an apostrophe in Weathersfielders. So I added it.
Is that apostrophe upside down?
I think you were removing.
Oh, I removed it, that's what happened, okay, yeah. There's a straight through beneath it.
Yeah.
So any of the
Excellent.
grammatical changes, can we just skip over those tonight?
Yeah, sounds good.
What do we think, folks?
Unless somebody objects to them, I mean, I read them and they
Right,
seem
I mean,
fine.
Willis
My
went over
grammar's
this
not
pretty
that good.
heavily, so.
Next one is line 703, 704.
Sparks comments.
This is based on a regional commission comment. Related to their discussion about tier 1B. And I think I don't have their comment right in front of me right now, but it was basically like, our existing language said that we would discuss with them and learn more about it, and they thought it should be more direct and aspire to secure tier 1B. So I had some email conversation with Jason and sort of inquired more about what are the benefits and what's involved in becoming enrolled, and basically to summarize, it seems like it's easy enough, there's really no reason not to. Maybe it'll benefit us, maybe it won't, but it's,
Well, we talked to Jason about qualifying. He said it wouldn't take that much to do it.
yeah. Which was hard to find out exactly what it will take, but yes, it won't take that much, I guess.
So do you feel what you've added here is enough to
It satisfies
satisfies their,
questions.
okay?
Is this tier 1B, is this impacted in any way by the changes to 181? Okay, all right.
Okay. The next change. I guess it's not necessarily grammatical, but another Rosewood online. 827. It says promote voluntary landowner programs to help conserve private. He asked to have agriculture added in there, so I added agriculture and forest lands for habitat.
Next one's cellar holes.
Cellar holes were added to line 1006. Next one is 1275. Conservation Commission action. This is under the goal to support the vitality of agricultural businesses and lands, recognizing the value of local food and contribution to the working man's economy. Conservation Commission action, build public support for the community's farmers, and then added language through advertising as well as educating the community about the realities of farming related to noise, dust, and odor. This is also Rosewood.
Do you think he submitted that comment before or after he spread that quill? Anymore?
After we all smelled it.
I thought that was a good comment. Good timing for that comment.
Sorry.
Okay, there's a big addition, 1425. This was related to Mark's comments about their housing targets. And so I thought I could just simply swap out the housing targets for the ones in the table above that were provided by the Keys to the Valley, and it didn't seem that simple. So there's a little bit of a blurb about where these numbers come from and what they all mean. And then the table that shows those numbers.
And that was from. They came, the
targets.
Yeah, the blurb, and did you write the blurb?
So all the italicized language is from the regional commission's proposed plan.
So verbatim.
Yes. But basically what I wanted to convey is that this wasn't a product of our discussion as much as a requirement that it's in here and where it comes from.
I like that we're not gonna be on, we're just explaining how that still.
Okay, is everybody happy with that change?
Fine with me.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next one is 1524. It's a new planning commission action. This was also based on a regional commission comment. Under the goal to ensure development regulations are not preventing housing options that could accommodate low-income households. I think what their comment was basically it doesn't speak to where multifamily housing should be allowed. The action says per 24 VSA 44121D, 2-unit dwelling duplexes are allowed in all districts that allow year-round residential development. Our bylaws don't align with that, but that's a state statute that came out of the Home Act a year or two ago.
Yeah.
The planning commission shall review the district use tables to determine if multi-unit dwellings, more than 2, are appropriate in other districts than where currently allowed. I think currently they're only allowed in the village, and we've had a discussion, sort of a brief discussion, based on an applicant who came in who is building a duplex, was considering a 3-family in the rural residential 1 district, and wasn't able to build a 3-family. So we've had sort of a preliminary conversation, and I think the general discussion was that it should be allowed. So it's just a action item to review that aspect of our bylaws.
Okay.
Next administrative thing, I removed chapter After chapter 5. Okay, let's see, what's this?
1783.
1783, based on Willis's comment, Conservation Commission power line corridors are managed to promote shrub growth to reduce trees from interfering with lines. The Conservation Commission should work with the managers of corridors to control invasive species, thus protecting adjacent land infestation. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
1840.
Yeah. 1840, this is a regional commission, comment related change. Under the goal that all public town buildings remain accessible and welcoming spaces for their intended use, this goal apply to all action that should change. Make a note that applies. 1830. Select board action, review the described public infrastructure and prioritize projects based on need, identify costs and funding sources to align with the approved budgets. So I think what they wanted, or what the what perhaps other plans do, is they have a list of projects that they know that they want to accomplish over the next 8 years or something, buildings, and so what they want to see in the town plan is how is it going to be funded, what is the order of operations, and prioritizing these different improvements and things. And we're just not at that point. We still need to have conversations about what those types of things are. So how could we identify funding sources and things? This is basically the minimum that they said was it meets the requirements.
So putting that in gets us off the hook from identifying cost and funding sources.
Yes, it checks the box, even though I think they still have a comment. This is minimal.
Yes.
Salt shed,
I'm sorry?
salt shed has definitely been identified as a new structure we're trying to build, and we took a long time choosing a design. We've done that, now we gotta find money for it, so there is one.
Yeah,
Ray should apply for a salt shed grant. I there's a V-Trans, I've been trying to remember to tell him, he probably knows about it, but they seem to do a lot of salt sheds in places that it's supposed to be for water quality, and I find the applications pretty marginal, so I'd suggest, I don't know, it might not be a perfect fit, but it might be good enough, depending on it.
That was right.
I will try, but no, I've been reminded.
This is what I can think of that I know we've identified as a new structure that we really need and are trying to build.
there is a section that talks about the small salt storage structure requires outdoor loading. 2025 study. So it talks about it a little bit. Oh, and town manager action work with the highway department to implement the recommendations of the 2025 highway garage study. Securing funding and initiating construction. Yeah.
And we're just looking for.
Okay, we go with this short synopsis of the language?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, this was based on Susan Wilder's comment about the changes to the police department. We had talked about it originally as under the sheriff's department, and has since changed. This is basically as much information as I had available, as everything is fairly dynamic, and also one that Brian reviewed and has nicer words for it.
So I, of course, couldn't help myself, but I rewrote it to say policing. At the time this town plan was adopted, Weathersfield decided to shift from relying on the county sheriff's department to reestablish its own municipal police department. The town is actively seeking a suitable location for a police station, has reacquired all the necessary vehicles and equipment. At this time, no additional equipment is anticipated.
Yes. Good, everyone?
Good, okay.
Well, said,
Can you paint them like police cars
I'm sorry?
instead of the stealth black bombers? I mean, they should be painted like police vehicles. It's just
I agree.
think about.
Okay, thank you.
They're like black SUVs and.
You have always speeding now, or?
Moving on to line 1948.
1948, Willis suggested adding the year just for sort of documenting when that facility was consolidated. 2010 is the best that I could come up with. I don't know if there's anyone else who wants to double check and confirm. But it sounded like the last year that a class was there was in 2009.
You can ask Grace tonight and know she.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
you would know.
Okay,
If Grace doesn't, I'd be surprised if Patty doesn't.
Oh,
She keeps,
true, yeah.
She seems to know stuff.
well, she's a historian in
Yeah.
town.
Seems to,
I think he was acting.
Okay, the next one, also a year change, about the library. Instead of for 125 years, we changed it to since 1902. And I got 1902 because that's what's written on the building.
Close enough.
Okay.
on line 2029, you're who's in the wrong spot, or Willis is who's in the wrong spot.
Huh?
Like who?
Well,
Hey, Dr. Who.
we'll take another stab at that one.
Okay, tricky.
Yeah, Whoville's in the wrong location.
I wanna go to Whoville. You wanna go? Mike?
Seems
Go to
like
Whoville.
we're past somebody's bedtime, or I don't know what's going on here.
Okay, 2,668.
Oh, we
Remove,
took a leap here.
remove the address for the Vermont Adult Learning Center, which according to Susan Wilder is either planning on changing or has changed. But also just sort of makes sense to remove that detail because it's not necessarily relevant. And could change. Okay. Line 2733. Mark, the one of the more difficult comments that they said was basically our energy chapter is just less than the other chapters. I asked for guidance and what we could do about it. They sent me West Windsor's town plan and said this is like really state of the art. It's not the standard, but just to give you some ideas, I read through it and was. I mean, I'm not really a statistics person, and so that's really what it talked about was like it had a lot of state statistics and sort of general things, and so it had a lot of things. I can see why the regional commission was like, yes, it says all the things, but I didn't get a whole lot of inspiration out of it. So they also provided me with this paragraph, and I said I'll copy and paste it and see what people say. So according to them, this makes it from lacking to satisfactory.
Works for me. Does it work for everyone else?
Yep. Makes them happy.
All right, next one, 3641.
364.
Just clarifying that the Cascade Falls waterfall is on Mount Scottney and where it can be accessed from. And that's it. Those are the changes that I've made so far. So it satisfies the regional commission, and Wood's comments and Susan Wilder's first comment. And those were all the comments received up to our last hearing.
From regional planning?
Yeah, regional, Wellswood, and Susan Wilder. Those are all the ones that came in before the hearing was open.
Okay.
So anything that came in after the last meeting.
Right. They're all included in the packet, that we can discuss.
All right, folks, and should we start to look at the comment sheets?
Trying to get
If
there.
we say no, what happens?
Yeah, do we have do we have I'm not sure.
Think about half of the comments could be addressed by just a better clarification for people of what conservation means. everybody seems to be paranoid that we can't do anything with conservation of land. If you look at the way the state's defined it, you know, it's wilderness, it's recreation, but it's also agriculture, silviculture, everything that these people are afraid they now can't do, so lands of conservation. You know, let's just start watching, don't be able to get away somehow, because the same comment keeps coming up.
So if we add,
179.
if we add our own definition of conservation land, because we're calling certain areas conservation, because you explained it a couple of meetings ago, Ryan, and you said whatever you said sounded good. It's not conserving the land, it's doing smart farming practices. It's logging in the right way, it's developing in the right way, and doing all these things. But I think calling it conservation land immediately.
Basically, it just means they don't want subdivisions and industrial development. I mean,
So did you see the little diagram that I put together at the bottom of these comments?
I did.
I was basically just trying to think about how to convey this a little bit better.
Tell
It's
me where
on
you are, Ryan.
page 187. And basically what I'm trying to say is that preservation is excludes humans. The developed land is only humans, and conservation is the idea about merging both humans and the rest of the world can exist in the same space.
I saw this, yes. But I think that the challenge is when someone looks at this, they don't equate it back to the town plan. I mean, I think this is a great way that you did this, but how do you equate that back to the town plan? So someone picks up the town plan.
I think you just have to make it understood that those are the three land use categories.
Right.
So maybe land use category, I don't know.
and then define conservation right there at the beginning, you know.
Right, so. And I think, I thought we did in the town plan.
Yeah, I thought we did do it kind of.
Because when we were going over the maps, we had the same conversation, it was like, we gotta communicate this clearly. I think we added a bunch of language to try and make it clear, but.
It's not working.
Oh, well, and I mean, sometimes you read it to how you assume it's gonna read or what you want it to say, but.
I'm just wondering in the one land use section, if it just doesn't start out with the definitions and say, these are the, here's three categories and here's the definitions for them, so it's crystal clear. And then put this really great diagram underneath and say, okay, and this is how it works.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, I think what you did here is really terrific. I like the statement underneath it. All of the above uses and more can occur on land by protecting the aspects of the pre-existing land so we live here without spoiling the resources. Great statement. But it just no one understands this, and they completely miss this whole thing that you did. So I think it's got to be right up top.
Right.
It's got to be defined, and you got to put it in bold or flashing lights or something. So because otherwise we're going to get the same. Well, you heard it tonight. Was in the public comments.
So I just made this for kind of discussion purposes. Do you want to include something like this in the plan itself?
I think
right on top of that?
I think
it's really great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
does that define? Does that define it well enough, or do you want to blur it too? Conservation is.
I think you need to do, I like this diagram.
Before this.
Before this, I think this diagram is great because it shows the scale.
Mhm.
But if you do
You do blur
developed land, conservation, preservation,
Right.
definition.
Okay.
done.
Okay.
And stick it in there in front.
Alrighty.
We're almost there. It's.
Yeah.
Don't stick it in front of roads serve as the public viewing place for them, because I love that starting sentence. I think that's. I mean, it's, you know, everyone drives around. I think that's a wonderful way to start a town. Stick it wherever you want, like what I really mean.
Hey, can we go back up to the,
I was thinking about putting in the land use chapter.
that's where a good place for it, land use.
Alright.
right at the beginning.
And this goes on and on here. Okay. When you're ready, Ryan,
I got partway down and
I was gonna go back to
started seeing TS, and it took me like an hour to figure out what TS meant.
Uh-oh.
I felt really.
call me next time.
Yeah, I almost did.
Can we go back to 175 so we don't miss any of the comments? Is that okay with everybody? So we just go through this
One 79.
179.
Well, I got 175.
I got
Oh,
175.
Oh, okay.
I just want to be sure we go through
Yeah.
every one of the comments that we have a record of and that we responded to the comments.
Okay, so we'll skip Mark's and start with Susan's.
Because you told me, March, we satisfy all the requirements, because if we have time at the end of the evening, if someone wants to go through those comments, we can, but I'm thinking we're gonna rely on you to be sure that we make. So this is from Susan Wilder, and I think you addressed all of these, correct?
Yeah, there was general compliments, remarks, observations, and then the main thing she wanted addressed was the adult learning center, changing address, and describe our relationship with those shares.
Okay,
Those are
great.
the two.
Woods on 177. And stop me, I'm gonna roll through this. If anybody wants to stop me, just holler. 170, I think Willis, she took care of all of his comments.
There was only two that I didn't. Number 573, it talks about is in Perkins section, Perkinsville section, including the soapstone factory, Sheehan's sawmill, town highway garage, more industrial than the transfer station, even though it's residential. And while that's probably true, the discussion in the town plan of that section is talking specifically about zoning districts. And so it's basically saying, this is where we have an industrial zoning district, and this is where we have highway commercial. So it talks about those uses as highway commercial only because it's in that district, not necessarily saying that this is more industrial than anything else.
Okay,
Just a list of where we have those districts already. And then the other one, 2134 is the second to last comment. You say one state park campground, or there two, but I think Meadowscott is in Windsor.
I think so too.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, the sign,
It is,
Yeah, Wilgus is the only one that's in,
that's what I always thought. Okay,
we have 3 private campgrounds.
all right, down to, let's see, Julie Levy, page 179.
And I use this one as an example so you could sort of see why I took certain quotes from where I did. It didn't make sense to take everyone's full quote and type it all out. So I did for this one just to show you how I captured certain things. And then other ones are
Summary.
yeah, they're all kind of different. Some people had real specific comments and others were more general.
Okay, and I think we satisfied everything in Julie's comments, right?
I don't know. I think we have, but I haven't gone through and made any changes based on any of these comments yet.
Okay,
so you know,
I don't think
she made any
specific recommendations, who's
more
like good
Jason's comments, I think
We've addressed those.
we've addressed those. John Aronson. He did make a good point in section 541 about adding regarding storage batteries, because Green Mountain Power already has that program with storage batteries, and that seems to be a big push. I think that'd be a good thing to include there.
Okay.
agreed.
And then the Weathersfield School make a reference to chapter 7. Honestly, that's not an area I've focused on a lot, so.
I think he was basically saying that they should both refer back to each other so that you can know that they're connected.
Okay, so
There's
that's,
information related to schools in both places.
And that's always a good guide
Yeah.
in the documents, whether it's this or the.
Or see check for something.
okay, section 5.8 recreation, gaining access to the town forest. I thought we had that in the plan somewhere.
I would have thought, but yeah, I don't.
Okay,
We should add that.
It's in there,
It is in there.
yes.
Oh,
I
But not under that.
It's
on there,
I've read it someplace, don't ask me where.
somebody who's got a keyboard, Control F and search that out.
Yeah, it doesn't work on my iPad.
okay.
Or no, but I mean, that is important.
Too many hits, so not good.
Sorry,
I
I
will-
will do it right now.
If it's not in there, we'll add it. If it is, maybe we
Yeah.
can duplicate it.
Okay,
We'll address that.
and then line 2457, he made a suggestion for some new language. I read that, it sounded good to me, but again, I'm not a school expert, so.
Yeah, I asked him what he meant and had him read this. And basically the way that I correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows better. Weathersfield had its own school district, Heartland had its own school district, and then Windsor and West Windsor had their own school district, and those three merged. And into the supervisory union.
So in your opinion, this language would satisfy that?
It corrected what, yeah, it didn't exactly say that.
Okay.
So. I mean, I don't want to certify that this is exactly the truth, but it made sense and he seemed to agree.
Okay,
I'm good.
all right, we're good. And then chapter 10, the section 248 proceedings, renewable energy facilities. He said to remove the steep slope prohibition. I'm not sure I agree with that. Slopes above 25% is, yeah, absolutely, it'd be great if it's south facing for solar, but if it's a forested or vegetated site, I'm not sure we want to clear cut it to put solar on it.
Do you want the south face of the Scotney to be covered with those things?
No,
Yeah, I kind of feel like.
I don't, I just was looking at that on the way over here tonight, I'm like, that doesn't.
Yeah.
my preference is no for that one.
Yeah, and the other one would be the south face of the Hawks Mountain. You know, all of Hawks Mountain, the way that goes across faces south. You wanna cut that and cover the whole face of that thing with,
Doesn't seem like.
no. I don't think so.
Todd, do you have an opinion? You're shaking
come
your
on,
head
Todd.
back there.
No, I'm nodding, because I sort of agree with much of what you're saying, but I do feel like in the next town plan or the next zoning bylaws, we should dig into the 25% slope thing. Because it's just as a practical matter, there are local areas where we have that 25% slope. By local, I mean small areas.
So it's localized.
So it's localized, like if someone wants to put in a driveway and they have a little cliff, but then it's flat.
Okay.
That sort of thing. I think we should dig into it to mature it, other than to just have that 25% as like a set no development. Because it doesn't recognize how dynamic our landscape is, and it could preclude some development where we just don't want to.
Right, okay, thank you.
I actually wanna ask Todd a question on that, and it's,
Yes.
I'm in agreement with you. I'm an awful agreeable guy lately. In, would that not be in the zoning bylaws and it, like in the town plan, we have to recognize that, like, the PUC does not use the zoning bylaws. They only use the town plan. And that's why the word shall was used in there. That was through a lot of work with a lot of research done for Ryan, the board, and working with Annette Smith on how to approach those things with energies and renewable energy. So to your point, could we correct that with this town plan in the zoning, that 25%? Is there a way we can fix that there without?
I think you could. I think this is more directed towards the PUC because you're correct. When the PUC reviews everything, they don't look at the bylaws. They're gonna go, what's your town plan say? That's why we beefed up the wireless communication section so heavily.
Right.
Because that's what they're gonna read. But Todd, I think you're correct. That localized area is really a good idea.
Yeah, but I don't know much about the PUC, so I can't help with that. I see so many spots when we were, when I was working with Ray and you guys that look at the driveway standards, for example. We have lots of spots in our road corridors where there's a little steep section.
Right.
And we would need to sort of move through that to get to the not so steep sections. So we could come up with maybe, when we think about 25% slopes, sort of the bottom amount of development that we want to allow on them. I'll just make up a thing so you get my point. But we say, like, if a development needs to disturb 4,000 square feet of slopes, so we could make exemptions for small things so that our bigger vision can be achieved.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to not include his comment for line 3249. And then we go on to appendix A. There's talks about reducing the salt and chloride. I know we didn't do, I'm right with that.
He's suggesting that we add a statement that we have a comprehensive plan for salt and chloride, just to
Do we?
basically, well, I don't know that.
I hate to put something in there that we don't have a plan for, someone might call us on it.
Okay, well. I'll check and see
Do
if
you
there
wanna
is
check with
something.
Ray and say,
Yeah.
Ray, do you have a plan? And if you do, then you could do it, but I don't,
Yeah,
I'm not sure there is I don't know.
right, yeah, his comment is that we have a plan and it should be mentioned, but yes, I'll,
Yeah, we need, I'm sorry.
And are you sure that he's saying that we have one? I kind of wondered that he was saying like we should have one. Like say we shall have one.
No, he's saying we should add it.
I'll go back and look at that.
And then he talks about a strategic plan for the use of our sand.
Hmm,
And that's a question for Ray. I don't really, unless someone knows more about the sand. Mike, do you know more about the sand than I do?
No,
No, so that's a
no,
great question.
I don't, yeah, Ray would be the guy to answer those.
Mike,
I think that has something to do with the amount of sand we have left.
Yeah.
That the pit and the bow is gonna run out at some point.
yes, it's
Are we
fine.
envisioning what we're gonna do after that?
Okay, so we need a.
I think that's what John was getting at.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'll let you ask Ray both of those questions then. And then down on, here we go to chapter 5. He pointed out under municipal service utility facility that under the presidential committee, the legislative body controls the Scutney Fire District 2. There are other public water systems in Weathersfield. It'd be good to emphasize the committee, but not to the extent that you forget about the other water supplies.
so I asked him what he was talking about and what other public water supplies he had in mind. He was thinking the campgrounds probably have public water supplies. And so when I searched on the ANRLs for public water supplies in town, there's probably like 12 that pop up. The campgrounds are some of them, but there are other basically private wells that serve the public that qualify in that way.
Right, so can you put a blurb together that covers that?
What do we want to say?
We want to say something to the effect there are other public water systems, there are numerous public.
Numerous other small
Well, if I
water.
say public, does that infer the town?
I probably use the word.
So
probably.
are there other privately operated water systems? Because they're not public.
Well, I think the state has definitions in there.
I think, yeah, basically if it serves a certain number of
Yeah, so I
membership
think
of public.
public, but it's a community or collective or something like.
Yeah, they might say it's a community.
Todd, you're nodding your head out there, so you might have some language there.
No, you guys, once again, you're on, if you use, just add the public supplies, there are a whole bunch. They could be those that serve 25 or more people, right? So, 25 or more connections, anyway, if you use, just write right in there, state regulated. Public water systems, that would sort of, that'll lump in all of those categories together.
Easy schmeezy then.
But what are we trying to say about those systems? That
Well,
we
his
recognize there are some?
That's what John's saying.
I don't know I don't see, is there a benefit to us mentioning the like, in at Weathersfield serves the public, they have a well. The prudential, like the Scott the fire district number 2, that is important to us because we're trying to use that system to change density to like, that's like an us thing. We need to know stuff about that, we need to know it exists, we need to blah, 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 we're working with that system. We're not working with the Inlet Weathersfield system, the campground system. I don't think we need to mention them.
So what do we want to say?
I just say,
Just not say anything?
Sure, I don't think there's a need to. His other main point in that thing was that it doesn't mention the Prudential Committee. I think I referred to that system all under the title of whether it's a Scutney Water District. So I didn't call it the committee that sort of facilitates it. I just talked about the district.
I think we're good.
When I think of the campgrounds, I think of those as like, in general, private business.
Right.
And if they have their own water system, it's the private water system.
This happens to be state regulated, it doesn't matter to us.
Yeah,
I agree completely.
Okay,
Okay.
All right, moving on.
No change.
Let's see, then, sorry, Rika mentioned something about the aquifer.
There's quantity as well as quality.
I'm not sure what we want to do with that. What do we want to do with that?
I mean, is there a goal in there to try to increase the capacity of the existing system? Or
I'm sorry, Howard, I was talking about Rika's comment here.
right,
About the aquifers.
right.
Well, I think so. What
Just the amount of-
she's referencing is all around the country. We're seeing that water as a resource is being depleted, as like those big aquifers in the Midwest and everything that people are drawing on for agriculture are being depleted. Do we know anything about the status of the aquifers that serve us? I think it's sort of what she's inquiring about. But I don't
think I don't know.
I think the best.
She's suggesting adding rules for water conservation such as irrigation, plumbing fixtures, stormwater drainage. Water recharge areas, coming out of the gate, I don't know how we make rules for water conservation with most of the water being used in town as private systems. How do you tell people that, I don't see
Think we're
where,
there yet.
no, plumbing fixtures, now you're going inside somebody's house, I mean, that stuff's already been regulated. Stormwater drainage, again, it's already regulated. Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, because those are things that we're looking at in the DRB with subdivisions and development review. What are we doing with stormwater? We always used the booklet and just made a note that, development had to follow the guidelines in this thing, and we put that on the Mylar. That's what we did at the PC, but.
And we're hoping that the planning commission will dig into that a little bit to give us.
Okay.
The aquifer overlay seems like a good thing, and the only thing that this brought up was that I wondered about is if somebody wanted to sell bottled water, that could have an effect on, like, that's the only I can envision that would have an effect on like local people's wells.
So would,
But, like,
if someone doing
really?
that, they need a state permit?
I assume they would. I assume they would. So
if you're talking about a bottling plant, you're talking about a big deal.
yeah, that seems like there's all sorts of other stuff going on. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it came. Anyway,
What do we want to do here, guys?
nothing. Move on.
Okay. She talked about regenerative agricultural practices and forest fires should be addressed as part of the emergency management plan. I almost feeling like I defer to the fire department for forest fires and state fire control for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we had that plan, but.
Yeah, okay. Andrew Murray on 181. Economic development goals. Her concerns about that the plan is entire focus is on conservation. Number one priority is so it's not sure if it's everyone's goal, but drafted most part of conservation. Since it was drafted for the most part by the Conservation Commission, which isn't true. The Conservation Commission didn't draft that part. We drafted it. And then her concerns about these other things here goes on for about a paragraph, and I wasn't sure how we wanted to address that if at all.
To that more broadly, how do you want to deal with like some of Rika's comments? Do you want to address, like, say this is reviewed and no change occurred or anything like that to show that their comment was received and processed and discussed and disposed of one way or another?
I'd just say no action.
Okay, no.
Yeah, definitely want to.
Yeah, sorry, that's a real good point. Thank you for that. Reviewed, no action taken.
Now that was the comment you're making now, that was in reference to just in general, and you used Rika as an example.
Right.
Right?
Yes,
Okay.
right, yes, thank you.
Like in Andrea's first concern, drafted by the Conservation Commission, do you want to provide a statement saying that that's incorrect, or do you want to say reviewed, no comment? Or no action taken?
I think it's worth saying something like to like,
Because this is gonna be part of the
yeah,
record.
it
for
should,
this.
it should be said that the Conservation Commission, I don't think has commented on this at all, or very little. They have, I don't recall.
It was drafted by the planning commission, should be the response.
Yeah.
That's part of the planning commission.
Yeah, it was drafted by the planning commission.
That seems like
For number
a
one.
worthwhile thing to say.
For the second one here, yes,
So I'm wondering if you don't want to make comments about what Rika said in the same line. You're gonna do that for one comment and not the others. You could simply say forest fires usually managed by the fire department. Or
Just summarize the discussion we had about that point,
yeah,
because there was some discussion.
yeah, what you're,
Summarizing the discussion is a good point. We should, but it could be pretty minimal in a lot of cases. Like minimal in
I
general.
can see where this might go, and
Mhm.
yeah.
I hear you.
Are the minutes of the meeting and the discussion we're having adequate to answer that in the future? For anybody questioning us on what we did or didn't do?
I don't know.
Well, procedurally, if we did nothing more than say reviewed, no action taken, and they were dissatisfied with that, this is all gonna come back as an exhibit for the next. If this hearing is continued, they'll have another chance to sort of raise that concern.
I hate to say it, I didn't really want to continue tonight, but I think we have to.
Oh, I agree.
Or you could
Because of
provide it to
the
the.
changes in the document.
Well, we're not gonna get.
Yeah, we're gonna have another pretty substantial draft to review.
Yeah, no, well, I'm concerned about people having an opportunity to review the changes that are in the document. Make sure that
Yeah,
they see that.
if you don't explain why you didn't take the recommendations.
It'll be
And
more
I'm
discussion.
fine with doing that too, either way, I'm just trying to.
I think Beth makes a good point. I think we have to. So
Mhm.
we want to go back up to,
Well, we discussed those things, I think, already.
do you have enough information that you
Yeah,
can?
I mean, what I'll do is watch the recording and
Okay.
sort of type along.
All right, then let's move through the, Andrea's concern, the primary goal states is for economic development is to leverage natural and scenic and storage resources.
Did we do the one before?
Oh,
Yes,
I'm
we
sorry,
did that already.
I missed that.
The focus of this town plan is on the form,
Yes,
we did that?
we did that.
Yes,
Oh, gosh.
And our response is that the planning commission directed.
Oh,
that
yeah,
section.
thank you, wow.
Keep up, would you?
I'm terribly sorry, that was a full thought. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay, Hank, you with us?
Yes,
Thank you.
100%.
Okay,
Let's
so.
scroll down.
That's her second concern. How do you want to respond to this?
I almost think Patty did it, or Mrs. Harrison, when she got up and talked about. The vision of the town and what we've always talked about, it being rural and it's et cetera, et cetera. We're looking at. Using what we have as a natural resource, whether it's. Natural, scenic or historic. How do we use those things?
Right.
It's not a matter of changing the town to get somewhere. So, you know, that's what it's saying, its primary focus, its stated recommendation is to leverage. Natural, scenic and historic resources to grow low. My concern is that because the town plan will be a basis for grants, potential development and goal. Strong the limits any tax-based development that is possible within our town. Is that true?
So my comment might help, I think the. I have trouble knowing how to respond to this comment because there's not an alternative vision given. I feel like the economic opportunities that we're looking at are probably good ones and possibly could happen. I think the idea that we're gonna get a grant to start an industrial park that's successful is probably not, like, I don't know. I'm not, right? I'm not sure what the alternative vision is.
But
And that's obviously an extreme example, but.
I guess where I'm trying to get to is I think we addressed this already in the town plan.
I mean, we already have areas of town zone for industrial
Well,
zone.
but not only that, but in the town plan, she's stating that the primary goal, okay, well, we might have said that in the statement, but we broke down. Below that, how that development moves about, home industry and farming and other things. That, that's broken down, it's in there, it's already in there.
Right, so to respond to this, we say, your concerns are answered because we define these things in the town plan.
It sounds about right. I mean, we might not have been perfect with it, but yes, I'm sorry.
We had a good discussion, might be worth responding that we had a good discussion and we changed this, there's a, like 1 or 2 paragraphs about home industry that we did make stronger because. I think you pointed out that it should be, and we all agreed. I think, so yeah, I'm with you, and I think pointing out that section might be useful.
They give you enough, Ryan, to respond to that concern?
I hope it's good.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Section 3.21 rural economy line 1134.
I think we just addressed that before with the
Yes.
redefining what conservation is, which is.
Yeah, so she talks about conserving property without compensation, but I'm having a hard time understanding where she's getting that from.
She is under the impression that by conserving it, bringing in conservation, you can't do anything with it.
And I think that goes back to that definition that we need to define. Would help, maybe that's the way to answer this.
Does she think that if she has 20 acres now, that she can't have 2 10-acre lots? Is that where the confusion was?
Reading this, I would say so.
Well, it gets confusing looking at that map and it says conserve and.
But the reality is Dave Fuller was correct, what he pointed out. Just because you have 20 acres does not mean you can split those into 2 10-acre lots. There may be other constraints that do not allow that to happen. And that could be right, it could happen on this side of the street, not on the other side of the street, they're not the same. Depends on what and that's how we've tried to create those standards so that we can deal with properties individually like that.
This comments, well, it doesn't say PUD in it, it's referring to this section that talks about PUDs and how regulations may be refined to ease the permitting process for allowing a percentage of the parcel to be subdivided while it remains. So it's basically that line talks about planned unit developments and how they could function, and she's taking that as extrapolating it out to saying all the land in the conservation shown area is going to be subject to this regulation, which is not the case. It's just a misread that this is just talking about PUDs, which is an opportunity. It's a voluntary thing that you can do if you wanted to.
One tool to use for development.
Right.
One of many tools.
Not with that, but the land that is conserved in exchange for the increasing density under conservation, you can still use it for farming, right? In agriculture, it's not like you have to preserve it, put it aside, and don't touch it.
Can't walk on it.
And not to get into bylaws, but if we were excited about PUDs, we might say you could actually have more houses. If you're willing to develop in a way that we.
And that's why we're working on the PUD thing.
So it could be, it could be,
Not
you could be,
Fire good lands.
Okay, do you have enough, Brian, to respond to that? Okay. And then under the next heading TS1 :25:20, she suggested putting the section under soils in chapter 1. Natural selection, and then the law is not basing it on farmland that is not considered a protection resource to. I'm a little confused there.
Yeah, I am too.
It's not making a lot of sense to me.
Maybe reach out to her on that, Brian, and see if you can get some clarity, and we can deal with that one later.
I mean, I can reach out to her, but this is part of the public hearing process too.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. Well, we're still in the hearing though. So
Right.
we're still taking the evidence.
Close the hearing.
No, we didn't close the hearing, just the comments.
Well, so one of the points that she was trying to make is trying to shift around where the working lands and the soils chapter go, and I don't agree. I think that they flow nicely where they are. And then she brings up another point. when it identifies that the natural scenic historic resources, that law is not basing it on farmland, so it's kind of incoherent, and it's not a law either, it's the town plan.
And a town plan's only a guidance document,
Right.
it's not regulatory.
So I think they're just sort of finding things that seem.
Well, and with the farm land, I guess, term. Would that not be referring to, in most cases, protected, soils? I mean, farms are typically on our ag soil, in fact,
Sometimes there's not a great overlap, honestly. But I mean, so if we wanted to get more clear, we could pull up the video and watch it. But when I watched it, the reason I included the quote was because I couldn't discern anything out of it.
Okay.
And maybe we'll get clarity on this at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're basically gonna respond, and then she can come back and speak to it.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Fuller, on TS 48:30. Suggested creating language, develop a working relationship with manager of the West Virginia Town Forest.
And so we have an agreement with the Scotty Trails Association.
All right, so that's the answer to that.
And should we point that out in the town plan, or did we?
I don't know.
I think we do have a mention of the ATA in the town plan.
I think so too. But
That's my recollection. But I don't have a keyboard, so.
That's Trails Association maintaining the Weathersfield Trail, hiking trail to the summit, which starts, so it just talks about it there.
Okay, so you can answer that.
Yep.
Okay. Dave's next comment is he doesn't like the results of the waterway naming project by the Conservation Commission and plans to appeal it. I guess there's no response to that. That's just a comment. And then he also said the Farm Service Agency confirms and a past select board hearing has not had any of his wetlands delineated with NRCS. He finds that all the town can magically draw a map on things up on a map when that has happened. I guess he must be referring that there may be some designated wetlands shown on one of the.
I think the response to that one is that the town doesn't map wetland, that's a state data set.
It's a state database as ours.
Which isn't.
And then the soil mapping.
Again, it's not ours.
It's a USDA has a soil map that they did in the 30s and 40s, and so that's it's not under our jurisdiction.
It's odd.
And well, that might be in reference to that we checked ag soils.
But that's based on the USDA.
That's just the data that we have.
Yeah.
It's the best we have. It's
Right.
And we have an action item to review that bylaw to make sure it's meeting its intended purpose.
Okay, so
Well, it keeps referring to the Farm Service Agency, which doesn't control any of these things. So it's.
right.
I don't know.
And then the GIS maps for town web clears spell this out. It's a tool that's used, it's not a wherewithal. And when the question arises, which is the only thing I've ever asked for under this water thing, was to reconcile whatever map server that anybody have with the ground.
And we don't control the stream GIS data.
Can I just,
Yes,
I think
please.
his concern is that we use the maps as a first blow, if you will. But if you have a specific instance of development on a specific parcel that says you have a wetland or you have primary soils, that those specific cases will get more detailed attention. The maps are for just general purposes.
Right.
Individual lots will be surveyed more precisely as needed. Those maps are not going to be cast in stone. We wouldn't use those.
They're really a
This
guidance
is
document
exactly
to
where-
say,
They're just general guidance.
to say, hey, you may have a problem here, or you may
And
have a
you may
concern,
not.
or you may not.
It would depend on your specific lot. They're just meant for general purposes. Start the conversation. If development is proposed on a specific parcel that may show up on a map with a map resource on it, it would be more accurately defined at the time it's needed. I think he's concerned that if it shows on a map, it's cast in stone and the zoning administrator is gonna use that to preclude him from doing something. When in fact, you're gonna go and take a look and say, well, clearly. This was painted with too broad a brush and it doesn't apply here. I think that's his primary concern.
And that's what he asked of us when we went through that.
So did you come to my land and map this? Well, no, we didn't, but these are general guidance purposes, and when it comes to developing your particular lot, we're gonna look at it in greater detail.
And to separate out development just a little bit, for instance, like. What just got named as a brook going across his land. That's like pasture area and stuff. And if that's named as a brook, recognized as a brook, it automatically picks up a setback. Which encumbers more land across that area that he's using. Whether, and I don't know where the farm regulatory or whoever oversees all that stuff, they can come down and they say, well, your cows can't be within a certain distance of that. That's a water course for pollution, and you can't.
25-foot setback.
But those regulations are based on what is existing.
But back to the point DeForest is making, we didn't go out and put boots on the ground, which is what he was asking for, to identify what is actually there. We just went by the maps, and that's really what's kind of got him fired up over this, is come out and look and see what's there. I think there's another one that he's actually talked to the state on, that they mapped. It's over, I think it's over by the schoolhouse road. That they say that there's a wetland there, and the state says no, there isn't, and conservation committee says yes, there is. And nobody's gone over and looked at it. And what's the impact on him, on his land, if those things stand? I think that's his concern, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, Mike, you've captured that correctly. So to answer this, we have to say something. You get verification would happen at time of development, or maybe that's not the right.
Regulation is based on what is apparent on the ground.
The wetlands shown on
Todd,
that.
you deal with this stuff in a regulatory way.
Yeah.
What's the map? How does this
So
work?
for the soils, for example, they have CS maps, we're looking at prime ag soils. When you go to development, if you're going through the more formal processes like Act 250. And what you do is, it's just like we review facts in the development review board. So if you were proposing development and there were no prime ag soils, but they were mapped as such, similar to the deer areas, whatever, you would have your soil person say, they're gone, there are no soils. The development review board would take that information, have that as a finding of fact, and that would be the check mark for that criteria.
And same with the wetlands.
Same, exactly the same for the wetlands.
So the wetland can be on the GIS map based on whatever selection criteria the computer used to find it. But if you want to build something there, you go out there, you see if there's a wetland, and you can build something there.
You can provide that, you can provide facts during the hearing that dispute that information.
And
And typically the development review board hasn't, we've never had facts presented that by the applicant that we didn't adopt in that instance. So I can say that the point of using these maps as a planning tool, you can add a sentence or two. I think that would be really helpful for David and any other people who feel like there's that sort of hand of regulation dropping down on them, that if those conditions don't exist, they're not gonna be regulated.
Well, what happens if you just made a general statement? Our general guidance. For actual development, a ground survey should be made by the applicant, or something like that.
I don't know, what are the soil maps based on? In Connecticut, the Soil Conservation Service did the mapping, and anything that was very poorly drained or alluvial was listed as a wetland soil. And that's how they map them. And then, of course, if you don't think it is, you have soil scientists go out there and look at it, and lo and behold, it isn't. Those maps were done in like a 1 inch equals 2,000 feet scale. So they're very generalized. But I don't know if that was the source of the mapping in Vermont or not.
I don't know, I worked with a guy for a couple of years who, in the 70s.
Yeah.
Dug test pits all over Vermont. They just go in the backpack and away they go. So you'd be surprised, probably, David would probably be surprised. If you could go back to that time period and find those sketches, probably someone did march across there to take that.
And poke holes and bring.
Yes.
And just want to add in the floodplain maps, they put you in the floodplain, those are two-dimensional. But if you get an elevation reading and you're topographically, you're above the base flood elevation, you can get an adjustment to the map and you're out and the floodplain regulations don't apply. So the maps are general guidance and specific cases can put you in or take you out if you need to provide that data at the time.
So there's the answer to the statement.
And I would put it on the map and say, these resources, wetlands are not regulatory. They're for planning purposes.
Well, I like what Todd was recommending, that the statement is somewhere, whether it's, where you put it, you figure that out. That they can be challenged, that it may not be what it says it is.
They need
and
to be
that can
verified.
and it can, yeah.
Verified is
Verified.
challenges, yeah.
One of the other part that might be worth having is if there's a wetland there and the map says there's not a wetland there, but there is a wetland there, then there's a wetland there. And that's pretty important because people do get in trouble when they make mistakes in wetlands and then they get found out. And that's, I mean, in terms of if we're putting in a note on the map, it might be that sort of full explanation might be good.
Do you think I should be a separate disclaimer? Because it feels like I should add it to each map that shows those type of resources. Because there's not a section in the plan where we discuss maps that I can give an overview, like this is the way that this is all put together. So it feels like it should go on each one. So someone might have
like it.
Yeah.
And it might want to be pretty specific because, for example, like the map that shows the zoning districts is pretty good. That's kind of that's what we go on, right? So some of that data is what it is.
I think he can figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
I mean, it's a lot. It starts to be a lot.
Moving on,
Writing on a
and
map.
just
I don't know.
for everybody's reference, it's at 8:38. How much longer do we want to go here, folks?
How many more pages we got?
We've got a bunch.
Yes.
Let's go to the end.
We
of the
have
page.
another 16 pages of comments.
Let's go to the end of this page. How about that? I don't know where we are.
So we have one more from Dave, and then there's several from August. And
Maybe we go
It goes
till we
on.
get to August.
August has
Quite a few.
almost the whole thing.
Should I have, what's the, I'm not, I don't wanna go back to the beginning, where's the agenda, what's on the agenda after this?
Nothing.
Yeah, discussion
Nothing?
for future
Just-
agenda items.
Legally discussed.
I don't wanna go past 9 o'clock.
I agree.
All right, so hard stop 9 o'clock tonight.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, so Dave has general perspectives on farming. I'm not really sure we even can respond to that.
We don't do the mapping of any of this, so. It's not a town plan.
Well, he's more talking about general farming perspective here. The little character of the town. And I'm not sure,
There's not a question here.
it's more of a statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost in agreement with what we just got done talking about. Right, isn't that really what we were just talking about? It's not where, I think I'm on the right one, eh? Just above,
The long one just after TS 128.
oh, okay,
I think, right?
actually was still above that.
Yeah, no, we're down, I'm sorry, TS 12850, Mike.
That
Okay.
long.
So his concern is that, his type of farming is going away and there's other new types of farming coming into town that he doesn't mention or recognize.
Not relevant.
So I don't think it's really relative to what we're doing. So do you want to move on?
Yes.
Review, no action taken.
Yep. So then we get to August Murray, TS 5130. So his concern was about the notice here. And I think that the response to that is the town attorney reviewed the notice and that he said we were good to go.
Ryan, is my supposition is that whenever we re-adopt the town plan, it's called a re-adoption,
Right.
whether it's rewritten from scratch or has very minor tweaks.
Mhm.
So it might be worth saying that as part of it's not,
A good point.
if this is just sort of like the words that are used for the process we're doing, whether it's a massive anyway, you got it.
Okay. Good, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, he's requesting a summary. What do we want to do with that? Do we want to put a summary together?
Nope. But I think it's a really good comment. And next time we do this, if we could remember to do that, that'd be cool. But it seems like a lot of work at
Well,
this stage.
even in as we went, it's not something that you can really easily summarize the changes, because a lot of them were, this section was in this chapter, and we brought it over here to make this chapter more cohesive, and then we added new language and we got rid of this part and or reworded it, like it was so.
Piece by piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the summary is basically like, I could probably summarize what the town plan is getting at right now. But the changes from what the town plan was getting at the first time, like my interpretation of the old town plan was it was hard to discern what the vision was. And so the attempt, in my opinion, was that this would be a little bit more clear about what that looks like.
But also, I don't feel like we're particularly trying to change our trajectory aggressively.
Yeah, it's not so much a change as much as
Reorganization of the
yeah,
document.
just like we checked in again and we tried to visualize the town for the next 8 years.
It is a big, I mean, it is very different, but I don't think it's.
I'm not sure it could be summarized very easily.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of
But I
work.
think you just came up with a good answer for that yourself.
Well, do you think
Yeah.
we should provide some kind of a general statement summary, or do you
I
want
think you just did,
so I can respond to this and say,
Yeah.
here's our summary.
Or just as a response to this comment. No. It's not really a summary, it's a response, right?
It might be helpful for him to know how much you've worked on. So another way to think of the summary, you have here's the plan we had, here's the plan we're making, is to say, we had work groups. You had it on your agenda, we did for, like since the last select board meeting where we talked about maps. We've had, 12 sessions, something like that might be helpful.
Okay.
Because it explains how much work you put in, and all of those were public, all of those are on the agenda. And someone who is interested could certainly have attended.
And we have, I mean, if it was something he was interested, I mean, it's not really a summary, but we have all the track changes from every change that happened. It's just like chapter 5, the facilities chapter, its name changed, and I think there's like 30 different iterations of that with different drafts and stuff. So it's not like there's no record of those changes and everything. It's just not it's not very fluid.
He's really concerned about process. In that comment, and so I think outlining the process will be really potentially helpful for him.
Maybe I can work with Ryan on coming up with something, because I started when I heard that comment, I started to write something here, and I'll read you just the first little bit of it that I wrote. It says, both the 2017 and the 2026 Weathersfield Town Plan are essential guides for the town's development, but they illustrate distinctly different philosophies. The 2017 plan is based on traditional planning, emphasis on strict regulation, structured procedure, and controlling growth. In contrast, the 2026 plan adopts a contemporary, cutting-edge approach that centers on sustainability, the building community identity, and encouraging strategic advancement. These documents together reflect how the town's planning priorities have evolved to meet the new legislative, social, environmental, and economic realities. And then I said the fundamental difference between the two plans lies in their intent and overall tone. The 2017 plan is a primarily procedural and regulatory, detailing how planning connects to the zoning bylaws, subdivision regulations, and decisions made by town and state officials. Its main focus in controlling development, preserving Weathersfield's rural character, and averting problems such as urban sprawl. The plan treats planning is a systematic process directed at upholding stability and order. On the other hand, the 2026 town plan is more visionary and goal oriented. Rather than concentrating on procedure, it describes the town's aspiration for the future, presenting the value of community participation, shared values, and long-term planning. Here, planning is portrayed as a means of designing the town's future, not solely as a regulatory measure. And I stopped there.
That's pretty good.
Sounds pretty good.
So if you want, I could flush that out a little more with Ryan and we can, I don't know.
No, that sounds good.
Words.
Yeah, I really like the idea of talking about all the meetings you've had, because one of his concerns tonight was nobody knew about it.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
we would just publicized out the wazoo here.
Yeah, so I think it'd be worth pushing in there, how many meetings you had, and they were all public and they're all.
I always want to ask the person that says that, how many people did you tell?
Yeah.
Or maybe, or could you like help us get more people there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's same point.
Yeah. But I should.
Forrest, you okay? You look like you're taking a nap.
There's your summary.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, so we'll talk later.
Okay.
And then his future land use map should show the tax parcels. I don't know if that's easy to do or not.
It's easy. I can't remember what the reason was for not having them, other than it makes it busy and maybe looks like the different categories don't flow as well, but I
Do one with, one without.
Well, his point, it's a good point that what actually matters to me is how this affects my little corner,
Yeah.
my little inside my little box. But the better use of the map is as a, you know, I mean, you kind of came up with the like, we'll just do kind of some blobs that show a good future.
Because we wouldn't want to show, like, accidentally that on his land, this little line that we drew fairly arbitrarily, it affects his little piece, when that's not the purpose, because it's not a regulatory map in that sense.
And it really makes a map busy. You just put everything on the same map, it's hard to read. But it's, I can see it both ways.
But we discussed this before too, when you have large parcels, you end up with a jigsaw shape for your map, which is complicated too, because then somebody says, well, how come this is green and this is yellow, they're right next to each other? No, it's.
Right, we don't want to be discussing what's on one side of the line or the other, because that's missing the point.
Right.
That's the zoning map, where we're like, a line is very important and specific as to where it's drawn. That's not what this map was doing.
And that was, we did talk about that.
All right, so how do we want to respond to that? And he also says the legend is different and there's no property boundaries.
Right.
The colors have all changed. It means they have.
It's a general concept.
What do you guys think out there?
I think do one with the parcel map and one without.
But one with the parcel map then means you're like, you've bisected my 1 acre with this is green and this is white.
I understand.
Yeah, but do it
That's
anyway.
what people want to know.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with August on this. I'm not worried about busy. I want to see your vision laid out on a map. And that's what we want to look at. We had the last future land use map, the one that's in the town plan now, has all the parcels on it. It has all the zoning districts on it. I'm sorry. It has the zoning districts on there. And it's it's wonderful to look at. So I'm not worried about busy. I wanna see what your vision is so we can talk about it.
And
Isn't that what the planning map shows though? That's the busy one, that shows everything, and that breaks down the categories into more detail.
The next thing we're gonna do is talk about, and when we do zoning again, we're gonna be doing the zoning map where we show the conservation districts and the rural residential. This should be a planning tool that guides that. And I think you need to take a stab at it.
you think that it should be like, here's what we're gonna propose later.
That's a future land use map, exactly. And
That kind of means we have to have had that discussion already, though.
But that's the whole point of you doing this map. Like, you've gotta put yourself out there and show what your vision is. For the next whole period of years, for the land use. But you gotta put out there, I like, part of me sees the idea of the simplicity of the future land use map we have now. But when I look at it, I have no sense of what you want the future land use to be, none. It doesn't provide anything. So I think that goes to my comments from earlier, is I think that your vision should be displayed on that map. And right now, it's simple. We have forest lands and you have rural.
But I think that is the vision. Those are the categories, and under those categories in the narrative, it talks about what the vision for that rural and the forest blocks and everything are. And this shows that vision that we were talking about. It shows the neighborhoods where they exist and how we don't want them expanding or sprawling. It shows I think that what's a mistake that I think we should change is in the villages, how much of the village area we show is rural. That probably doesn't make sense. But like, if you look at Plains Road or something, it shows it as rural, and I don't think that there's a plan to change that. And it talks about what rural is and what it means and what that vision is.
So in the rural residential, for example, as you outline how the density of the development, it talks about villages being those with high density of 1 acre or less. But then the next jump just says the rural residential, and it goes right up and says most of these parcels are bigger than 10 acres. So it really doesn't, Brian. I mean, I think it says in the villages we're less than 1 acre, and then everywhere else we're big. And I really want us to dig into where do we want to have residential development done densely.
If I may, is the future land use map is regulatory, that's required by statute. Is the future planning map regulatory?
No.
What if you took the future planning map and just named that the future land use map? Is that
I
what
think
you said?
so. That's how we started, and then we came down to it doesn't really align with the land use chapter very well because of those 3 broad categories that we're always coming back to. And so in the first iteration of this map, we didn't have an acreage on there, and that's one of the things that Mark said. You need to call out what you're talking about in terms of density. And so right now, our future land use map doesn't show an increase in density anywhere really. And their concern was that we're showing these areas like Victory Drive as potential future development, which we would say is generally pretty low density, but their concern is any development happening outside of the village, where we say 3 acres is dense for us, and they say high density should be in the village. So you kind of we had to spell it out that way.
I guess what I'm getting at is it sounded like what you said was both of those maps kind of work together. So do they fit together? Like Beth was suggesting that you do one of each, combine them into that one category, so you have all of it kind of together and not broken out. And does that solve what Todd's looking for? I get what Todd's looking for now. And I get where you're coming from too. I'm saying they both seem to have.
I'm not sure I understand what you're suggesting we do with the 2 maps.
One map out of the 2.
I don't think, no, that's not really what I was saying. What I was saying was, you have a future land use map, and then you have a future land use map, and you're designating more as a planning map. So you have 2 maps that look different, but when you put them together, not necessarily on one page, but you put them together, you get what Todd's looking for, you get the full scope. What you're trying to say and what Todd's trying to say all together. I don't know if that works, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so I think that is what the planning map does, is it takes this general future land use map that says the narrative that we ascribe to each of these categories fits like this is the vision, and then the planning map goes into greater detail and says, developed land is more than just developed land. We have these areas that are more highway commercial, and we have these areas that are more residential, and you can see all that, and there are parcel lines on that one.
Is there a way for us to connect that with language though, to, like I said, to make it clear?
I think it's all in there. I think the language.
But I'm just, Todd is very experienced at looking at these things and using these things. He's I believe the chair of the DRB.
Yeah.
And.
Yeah, I agree. But
I'm just looking to reduce the confusion that I'm hearing from him.
Yeah.
Is all.
Yeah. Well, to address your question, the different categories that the planning map sort of breaks down are also broken down in the language of the chapter.
But there seems to be a disconnect between that, because someone doesn't look at the language and they just look at the map.
And that's why I was kind of trying to, that's the question is there a way to kind of link those a little better?
Not everyone's gonna read 170 pages. You're right to the map.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way to address it.
But I think one of the issues is that the maps came at the end of this process for us. And the future, one of the reasons that a sort of blobby future land use map works well is because we haven't had the discussions about what should be what density and how much there should be. And if it should be your parcel but not your parcel. So not having had those very specific discussions, coming up with a map that shows those very specific answers, that's hard. That's like, I mean, that feels like a lot of discussion and
that
work.
discussion actually happens when you make the next zoning map.
Agreed.
Howard, you and I went through that using the existing town plan future land use map. That's when you put a microscope on it. Now, remember, I don't remember how many meetings we had, but we went through zooming in on the villages and the aquifers and things like, and that's where the changes happened that affect zoning. The things that you're going to see, that this is going to be in regulation. I agree. I'm agreeing with both of you. I see both points.
So can I make a suggestion?
Yes, 9 o'clock.
You're going to provide some specific comments to Ryan. Can I ask you to collaborate with him a little bit to help him make this work? To push your heads together? Is that too much of an imposition? He asked for you, Todd, to do?
No, that's totally fine. I wanted to just get you guys thinking about, I'm not on the planning commission, right? I just see what's gonna happen next with this map. And what happened next last time was we took the future land use map and something from Springfield Regional Development Corporation, and whammo, we eliminated half of our conservation C10 district, and everybody was like, holy smokes, how did this happen? So I would like to put it in the planning commission's ballpark to come up with that vision, so that when we go to make that zoning map, we the lines can be rough, but I'd like to see those rough lines now rather than later. And I'll get together with Ryan.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It's 9 o'clock.
It is.
And I think there may be a motion here to, let's just finish the rest of the agenda then. So we're gonna continue the public hearing. Our deliberation to the next meeting. Is that what?
Yeah, we have to do a time and date specific.
Yes, a procedural here.
So our next meeting would be the 4th, May 4th.
Let me just catch up to you, Mike.
Is that is, I don't, Cinco de Mayo, that's not a holiday. We might need some.
We need more holidays. man.
Yes, that'll be May 4th.
So, okay, so I make a motion to continue, the public hearing on the town plan, Weathersfield, Vermont. To, May the 4th, 2026 at 6:30, Martin Memorial Hall.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Howard made the second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Discussion for future agenda items, I'm just gonna table that tonight. I think we've plenty to do.
We got plenty.
And is there any other business that can legally be discussed this evening?
I just wanna give you an update on something. I kind of dropped the ball like a whole lot on the letter. Which some of you may know, some of you may not. But at the select board meeting, the town manager took the letter upstairs, edited the signature page. And we signed it and sent the same letter from the select board.
And just update that further, the House Environmental Commission, they decided to start over, or at least it hasn't happened formally. But the way that I understand it is that they're gonna go back to the drawing board for Act 181 and the road.
Tier 3.
All of it?
Tier 3, no, I think
The tier 3
Tier 3 and
and the road.
Yes,
The other stuff stays, but.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll see, it isn't official yet, but.
So I wanted to apologize to the board for not getting a new letter written and whatnot, but we did something with,
Seems like it works.
All right, so motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Ryan, this is August 5th. You have
Copies or?
we have 2 copies of this. Thank you all for staying.
Jeez, you're gonna give somebody a heart attack. Maybe the closest person with their back to you.
Thanks, tonight.